I am sharing the screen. Okay. Can someone verify that I am indeed sharing the screen? Okay. Am I? Thank you. Okay, so right, so we on Monday's class we created a couple of login and profile and homepage, right? But we use Google as the authentication authority. Okay, and what we're going to do in this class is we're going to keep talking about what we started in the at the end of last class. Talk about ASP.NET's support for login facilities. Right. So to do that, I'm going to create a couple of pages. Let's create a couple of pages here. So let's go login, .spx. There it is, and let's let's add Bootstrap to this so that it displays a little prettier. Where is it? Bootstrap. There it is. I'm just going to drag it into the CSS folder. And in here, I'm just going to link it real quick. Link href, CSS, Bootstrap. And style sheet. And in here, I'm just going to do a class container. Right, and just an H1, just identifying the page. Let's run this to make sure that we have a starting project. All right, looks like we have a login page. At least the landing page. We haven't put anything in there really. And also let's create here a registration page so people can register. So let's add here register. And let's copy the Bootstrap in our new registration page. I have a consistent look and feel, and let's add the container class. This will be H1 register. What else did we create? I think we created a profile page and a home page, right? Is that what we created? Okay, so let's I guess we could stop this now, and we can let's create a couple more pages here. Let's create a home page. So home, and let's put the Bootstrap here and H1 home, right? And finally, one more. We'll do the profile. So I'm just going to copy this. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to create it brand new. So we'll have a profile and copy here the Bootstrap. Oops. Huh? Wait, what did I copy? Okay, let me copy the Bootstrap. It's in here. And this will be my profile page. H1 profile. Okay? I think this is where we were on Monday, right? All right, so let's go back to our login page. Let me put this in the order. Login, register, home, and then profile. So in our login, we're going to put a placeholder where we're going to put in our login controller. Let's go in here, and we can go to the toolbox. And under here, we should. What happened? Am I still broadcasting? Why did this change? Connected. Can you verify that I'm still broadcasting? The HDMI cable got disconnected again. All right, let me know if there's a break or something, if I need to start broadcasting again. Okay, anyway, so inside of the toolbox, there's as I mentioned late in the class on the lecture last Monday, there's a couple of controllers here that allow us to very easily build some login functionality. Right, we can just drag a login control, just drag it in there. Okay. Also in the registration page, we can very quickly drag in some control here to allow us to create new users to register with the system. The create user wizard, we can just drag it in there. Okay, and this is the default look and feel, but you can fully customize what this looks like, right? But before we do that, let's see what the default behavior is. Okay, so let's go to login page, and so this is the login page already running here. If we refresh this, right there it is. This is the default login page, the way it would render if we don't touch it. If we obviously if we put some bogus information, it'll post, right, and look for that user in the in its database, and it won't find it, and it'll come back and it'll time out and say, you know, sorry, no such user found. At some point, eventually, maybe. Is my database running? Okay, yeah, it would have failed. Let's add a link to the registration page so that we can add some users here. Again, this is the default behavior. We'll customize it in a second. Let's go to the login page, and here in the source, we'll add a link down here. We'll say a href that will go to our register page, and we'll have like a join link. So if we link it again, there's join, right? If we click on join, it'll go to the registration page, and we can create new users. Okay. So let's add a couple users here. We'll say user 123. Password I'll use 123 QWE, and then shift 123. Email, just use user123 at gmail.com. Here's my question. Here's my answer. All right, so it's complete, and it says, and then I can click on continue. The default behavior of continuing is to stay on the same page, right? Just refresh the page. That's the default behavior. Typically, we would want to go to our home page or profile, or something that would tell us whether we're logged in. Okay. Also, on the registration page, perhaps we might want a cancel, right? So we might want to say, forget it. I don't want to register. Now I remember my username. Let me go back and log in. So we might have a href go back to our login page with a cancel. Right. So here's my registration page. I can always cancel and just go back and log in. Yes. So presumably now I can log in. I created a user. So here's my user 123 and the password I created. And the behavior is to go. The default behavior is to load the default ASPX if you successfully log in, right? So that's kind of like the default behavior. Let's change this a little bit. Let's where am I standing up? Let's change the behavior a little bit here. Let's one of the things we might want to do is to log into instead of going to the default page, to go to either the profile or the home, whatever, right? if we look at the design of the login control, in the properties we can change a couple of things, right? One of the things that we can change is the behavior, and say that font behavior, there it is. We can say the destination page URL, there it is. So we can configure where do we want to land if we successfully log in, right? So we want to land, by default it goes to the default ASPX, or I can override it here and I want to go to home ASPX, okay? So let's go back to our login page and let's refresh this. Having configured that, did I save it? Let me save that. All right, so let me refresh. So let's go to user 123 and password. I log in, there it is. So it goes to our home page. Yes, it goes to our home page. Another default behavior that we want to be able to do is, not only have I logged in, I like to be able to log out, right? Right, and remove any session information about the current logged in user. Okay. The way we could do that is in the home page. What you could do is add here at the top level of the page. We could drag in here another control, useful login control, the login status. Login status tells me whether I'm logged in or I'm not, right? And it allows me to go and change my state. Like it shows my current status and then allows me to change it. So if I say I drag in the login status, oops, wait, what happened? No, I want to go to my home page and drop in there my login. Save that. So if I go to my home page and I refresh, it's okay. So that's my home. Notice that it knows that I'm logged out. I'm logged in, so it displays as log out. Okay. If I click on log out, it logs me out. I'm currently not logged in. It tells me, okay, you're not logged in. Do you want to log in? Right. And if I click on login, it takes me back to my login page. So this is all standard behavior, right? We configured a little bit, right? We configured the fact that when we log in, instead of going to the default page, it goes to our home page. Another thing is that when we join, let's create someone else. Well, the default behavior, I'm creating another user with another password, same password, because the default behavior is to stay in the same page, right? The register page, right? That's what we showed earlier, right? So if I say create user, it creates it, and then when I click on continue, it kind of stays in the same page. What we'd like to be able to do is, well, I created it, right? You're logged in, basically, right? I know who you are. Go now to my home page, like you would normally do if you would have logged in normally, right? So we can configure that in the registration page by going to the registration control, and again in the behavior. In the behavior, let's see, the styles. No, I don't want styles. Validation. There's the appearance. The behavior. Here it is. So I could say, okay, continue destination page URL, right? Meaning when I click on that continue, where do I want to go, right? Default is to stay in the same page. Right? That's a default behavior. Or I can override it and say I want to instead go to home.aspx. Okay. So that let's try that again. So here's my registration page. Let's create a third user. So user 345. And same login, password. Let's be user 345 at Gmail. Question, password. And when I click on continue, now it goes to my home page, right? And it's I'm logged in. Notice it says log out because it says you're considered to be logged in. Okay. Why is this not rendering right? Did I put container everywhere? I did put container, didn't I? Registration, do I do the same thing? Container, yeah. What about home? Maybe not. I didn't do it for home. Oh, I didn't. Okay, so let me change that in my profile as well. There it is. Okay. So this is my home page, right? There it is. Okay. Perhaps the logout, usually people like it to be on the right-hand side, so we can push it very easily using one of one of Bootstrap's classes to pull everything right. Pull everything right. Actually, not everything then. Not everything, just this div. Sorry, class pull right. Okay, so we have the logout all the way to the right. Okay, so this is pretty standard. One of the things that looks pretty ugly is this login page, right? This login page looks very ugly. That's the default behavior. There are some nicer configurations. You can go to the design, and it does have some standard formats. For instance, that's the default, right? That's removing all the formatting. So it has some styling, some CSS that you can attach to this very easily. So let's see, simple. You can say okay. You can save, and there it is. So that's some default styling that is available through the framework, but I don't like any of these. So I'm gonna just remove any of the formatting. I'm just gonna say remove formatting. I want to have complete control over the look and feel of this. Notice that right now I have no control, right? It's just one tag. It's a tag that generates 2 input fields, a whole bunch of labels, titles. It generates a lot of stuff, right? There are templates, and those templates you can configure through the look and feel, through the appearance here. You can attach certain classes and URLs to images, but it's still not powerful enough, right? If you really want to have full control over the look and feel, right? What we need to do is convert this into a template. Convert to template, right? And what's going to do? It's going to generate the template that it's using to generate this particular layout, right? So notice what it looks like before, right? So it's just one tag, yes. But when I convert it into the template, okay, it looks almost the same here. It renders almost the same. Actually, if I go here and I refresh, it looks just the same, right? Nothing has changed. But if I go into source, notice what happened, right? Look at all this, right? All this layout that it's using, right? The login control inside has replaced the inside with a template tag, right? And in here is the HTML markup that it's using to render. Okay, and we can get rid of most of this, right? If we wanted to render this maybe on a phone or on a mobile, we can have full control over what happens here, right? For instance, we can get rid of most of this. Just keep we're only going to keep the actual components that render, right? The labels, right? The fields, the text boxes, and things like that. That's the only thing we're gonna keep, right? Everything else we're gonna throw away because we don't want the default layout. We're gonna have our own layout, okay? Whether again, if we want to lay it on a phone screen or tablet, or have this be responsive, why not, right? So we're gonna remove all of this. We're only gonna keep the fields. And all the way to layout. There it is. So there we go. Right. If we refresh now, there's absolutely no layout, right? It just flows with the page, right? So we can style this by adding some CSS. A class. One of the classes that we typically use for styling text boxes, right, is use form control. So let's copy this with both our text boxes, 2 text boxes. Right, let's do that. There it is. So it's starting to look a little better, right? Which a little bit of what the look and feel that we've been using throughout the semester, using Bootstrap to paint all this, right? Also, this button that's a very ugly button. So let's style it and use one of Bootstrap's primary and take up the entire space. block. So if we refresh that, there it is. There's our login page, right? Our login button. Perhaps this link here, right? That link, we might want to change it and have it look a little more like a button, so that we can say, you know, button, button danger, and then button block. Actually, we might want to pull it into our template, right? So that it takes up the same space. There it is. Here's my join. So it looks a little better. Perhaps we can lose this. We might not need the labels at all, right? Instead, we might want to put some placeholders, right? So here, have a username for this, and have a password here. Right, so we could lose this, right? Especially on a phone where you have so much little vertical space, right? Just hints might be, you know, good enough, right? Anyway, so that looks a little better. So let's go to our join and let's do the same thing with register. So if we go to register, register is a little more challenging. Here we have the here's a wizard, right? And notice that the only thing we have here is the wizard, and there's absolutely nothing. We don't have any of these elements. And if we try to style it, if we go to the design and click on it, there is no one place where we could actually. Yes, there is. There is the create user step. I want to customize the create user step. This is the step, right, where we create the user, and it has different templates for the various steps. You know, there's a step where you're changing the password. There's a step where you know, I'm done, right? There's the step where you're verifying that the user doesn't exist, already exists, right? There's several templates, right? So let's customize this one at least, and let's save that. If we go back to the source, notice that this has been replaced with all the markup that we would use to style this. So let's quickly remove the markup, right? This is for the create user wizard step, right? Let's remove most of the markup. Notice that if we reload this, it still looks the same. It looks exactly the same, right? Because that is the markup that we was using to render this. Let's start removing all this. We don't need any of this, right? What else? The label. Insert. That's it, right? Content. I think I did it right? Okay, and let's just bring this over a little bit. And for the text boxes, I'm going to add a CSS class. CSS class of form control. And I'm going to do that for all the ASP text boxes. So let's do it there. No. Uh-oh. I like to do it for that one, yes. And then that one, and that one, and that one, and not that one. Save. Let's refresh. Okay, that looks a little better, right? That button cannot be styled here. We need to go to the properties here. That button is the create user button, right? We need to go to the properties, which is right here down on the right hand side. Where are you? There it is. Okay. Here's the appearance. Here's a create user. Create user button, text, image, type, CSS class, right? So here we want button primary, and then button block, right? Uh-oh. That's not it. Wait a minute. Where is it? Is it styles? Oh, there it is. Create user button style. Oh, there it is. This is CSS. There it is. Let's see if we can refresh this. That's a create user. And the cancel, it should also be a button, right? So let's change that as well. Here's my cancel. And we'll change that to be class button, danger for red, and then button block. And then we want to bring it into the wizard step. No, wait. Yes. Wait. The template. Here's a template. There it is. Cancel. And where's the other button? Where is the button? Create, complete, blah blah blah. Create button. There it is. Okay. Step. All right, that's fine. This will bring me back to login. Okay. All right. So all right. So we have the login. We have the what we need to know now is that once we log in and we are at our particular homepage. Remember, the homepage shows things that are in common to everybody, right? But from the homepage, typically we might want to go to our profile page, right, where we have our things that perhaps our wall where we've been posting several articles and people have been commenting there, right, and things that are private to our profile. So what we might want to do is that from the home page, I want to go to my profile page, right? So let's add here a link to my profile page from the home page. This will be a href profile, right? And this will be profile. Right, so if we go to our login to our home page using user1 and then the password, and I log in, I go to home, and then I have a link to my profile, right? So let's put this first and put a bar in between. This is my profile, and if I click on profile, it goes to my profile page, right? But notice that even if I'm logged out, say I log out, right, and I go to log in, so I'm not logged in right now, but even though I'm logged out, I still have access to the profile, right? There's nothing stopping me from going to the profile, right? Perhaps I don't have an identity. I don't know who you are, so I don't have anything to show you. But still, this page should not show at all. Okay, this page should not show at all. So what we need to do is to protect this, right? Protect this page, and say, well, no, if you try to access this particular page, right, then I will stop you, right? I will force you to log in, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a protected directory, right, where we're going to put in everything that we want to force users to log in to access certain portion of our web page. So let's create here a folder called protected and protected. And instead of having the profile out here, right, we're just going to move it from here. We're going to move it to protected. Okay, there it is. And our home page, this is the only place where we're linking, right? This is the only place where we're linking into the profile page. This still works, right? If we go to our home and refresh, right? I'm not logged in, but I still can access the profile even though it's under my protected directory, right? What I need to do is I'm just going to make that protected directory unavailable to anybody who's not logged in. Okay, I'm going to force you to log in if you try to access this, right? And for that, I have a cheat sheet over here. Where is it? Validating walkthrough. Protect. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so there it is. So here's in my config page, right? In my web config, we can configure folders that are out of bounds, right? Unless you are logged in, right? Basically, what it's going to do is going to pattern match the URL, right? It's going to pattern match the URL against these folders that are configured in the web config. Right? If it matches that particular folder, then it's going to enforce the authentication mechanism. Okay, so let's go into web config, and in web config, we're going to drop this inside of the configuration, right? But outside of system web or outside of app settings, so it has to be its own entry. Okay, so we're gonna put it in here. We're going to say, for this subfolder, we need to provide what the subfolder is. I'm forcing you, deny all users that are not logged in, that I don't know who their identity is. That's what it says here. Deny all users who I don't know who their identity is. Okay, and here we put the folder that we want to protect. Right, in our particular case, is a folder called protected. Okay, right. So let's try it again. Now, if I try to reload this, it's going to kick me out to the profile, right, to the login, right? Because it got deployed. This pattern matches the path that is protected. I don't know who you are because you were not logged in, right? So I'm going to kick you out to the login page. And notice here that it's smart enough to remember where were you trying to go, right? Maybe somebody sent you a login. Maybe somebody sent you a link to a page, but that page was protected page, right? It remembers that this is where you were trying to navigate, right? But the system kicked you out, right, to be logged in. So now that I do log in, it'll be smart enough to remember what my intention was, to then send me to that profile, right, to that page that I was trying to go to. Okay. Notice the profile now, it's the look and feel of profile is broken, right, because I moved it, right? I moved it, and now the CSS file is up one level, right? So we need to fix that. Where's profile? Is this profile? Yeah, it's in the right place, right? So CSS, we need to go up one. Better. So profile is good, right? Again, what we could do is that in all pages, we might want to put this navigation at the top. I guess we could use a master page. We haven't talked about master pages, did we? Have we talked about master pages yet? All right, I'll leave that for some maybe next week. We could copy all things that are in common, right, to all pages instead of copying and pasting it everywhere. We could put it on a master page, right, and then have that loaded in every single page. But we'll talk about it a little later. So if I refresh this, logout is pointing to the wrong place, right? Right, because this really wants to go where? It wants to go. That's my login status, right? So login status should work. I shouldn't really have a linked profile, right? So I should maybe just have it just a name profile, but not as a link. I can still log out. Notice that no matter from where I am, right, in the system, if I log out, it kicks me out to the login page, which is nice, right? And I can no longer go to my profile page, right? I can no longer go, profile. Now, where is it? Under protected profile, right? It's gonna still kick me out to login, right? There's no way for me to go and jump into anywhere in the website unless I log in. That makes sense? Okay. All right. So once I log in, now usually what might happen is that my intention would be to go to my home page, right? So this is user 123. I guess I should have a link to home, right? So I should have a href go up and then home at ASPX. There's home, right? I should be able to go to home and then my profile, my particular profile. Home. Okay. And perhaps in home I should have a blank home link. Anyway, so what we want to do now is that when I jump to my profile, I like to see content that was, it's related to me, right? I need to be able to have content that is stored in the database based on my particular username, based on my particular profile. And depending on who I log in, I'll be able to retrieve content for that particular user, right? So one way, I almost disconnected again. So one way that we can do that is if we go to our profile page, there is a control that displays the currently logged in user, right? So let's if we go to a design page, right? If we have here, sorry, not here. We have our profile and we have here P, right? We can drag here another tool, another control here called login name. Right, login name will return the currently logged in user. So if I go to profile, it says user 123 is logged in, right? So if I log out and then if I log in as user 234, I log in, it says user 234, right? So at all times, I always have access to the currently logged in user. It is also accessible through explicitly through an object, right? A singleton that maintains the current identity, the name, right? The name of the current user here, right? So for instance, if I reload this, it shows twice, right? One is through a control, and the other one is through a singleton object that is available all throughout the environment, not only in the ASPX environment, but it's also available in my code behind, right? So I could use this this user 234, right? Perhaps store it in the session or in the request or somewhere, right? That I can use it to retrieve data for that particular user. Okay, right? So let's go back to home. So what we might want to do here is that when I click on the profile, right, I'd like to be able to see the profile of the currently logged in user, right? Right. Remember that how do we do that? We provided the user ID as an argument in the query string, right, to then return all that data. So let's do that. Let's go to home. Here's home, and in our profile, right, we can provide the username. So owner, so profile owner, right? From home, the profile owner will always be the person who's currently logged in, right? I just logged in, I'm in home, and I'm just gonna go and say profile owner is the currently logged in user, which is available through the user.identity.name, right, and close this, right? So if we reload this, if I hover over this, I don't have the profile owner. Why don't I? Profile blah 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 equal. Oh, did I have one too many quote? Let me see. Let me try that again. Profile. There it is. Profile owner, right, equal 234. There it is. User 234. You see that? All right. So we could use more or less the same mechanism we were using earlier, right? But we were using fake user login, right? We were just toying around with our own login mechanism, right? Instead of building our own login mechanism, we could certainly use the default behavior that is already out of the box, right? That already has all this authentication and session information instead of maintaining our own. Anyway, so I click on that and I go here and there's our profile owner. So now what we might want to do is query all the posts that were generated by this particular user, right? User 234. Okay. To do that, I guess we could create a DAO and do all that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just use the default the default mechanisms. Right. So I'm going to throw this away. I don't want this. Right. What I'm going to do here, I am going to drag in here the content that was generated by this particular user or the owner, right? And let's go to the database, and I believe we have a database. Was it this one? I thought there was another one. Didn't we have one for donations? Why is it not showing? Let's see. Gianniziano / SQL SQL Express and the databases. Which one was it? Donations? Is that the one we were using? I think so, right? Let's see. Okay, there it is. So let's see what tables we have here. I think it was posts, right? So we can look at the data here. Let's look at the data. There it is, right? We have the author ID and the user ID. Oh, these were IDs, right? Do we have one that says the user? Because these are integers, right? These are all integers. All right, we had a table called user. Isn't that what we were doing, right? All right, let's create a brand new one. Let's create one. Create a new table. And let's call them articles, right? We are creating articles. And so let's create this and says these are articles that we're going to write. This is a primary key and it's going to be identity, right? Oops. And this is going to have maybe a title as a varchar. Title as a varchar. It's going to have a content as a varchar. Maybe make it a little bigger. And maybe the data was created. This is date, time, and the default is get date. And finally the owner, right? So article owner, username. First one we did this. Did we create a table for this already? First one we did this. So article owner and then article. So the owner is the owner of the blog, right, or the wall, right? And the author is who wrote the article. It could have been me or it could have been someone else posting on my wall. Yes, right. So we'll keep track of the article author username varchar. Okay, and we'll save this. Did I update? Update database. Okay. All right, now that we can go back to our profile. And in our profile, what we're going to do is that we're going to let's refresh the tables here, and let's bring those articles in here. Obviously, the articles are going to be empty at first, right? I'm going to save that. If I go to my profile page, it's empty. There are no articles, right? Makes sense. Maybe we can style it to make it look a little prettier. Right? CSS equal table. Okay. And the currently logged in user, I believe, is user 123 or 234. Which one was it? 234. 234. So let's add some data there just to make sure that indeed we can display some data. So let's look at the data of this, and let's create some titles. So title 1, content 1, and article owner will be user 123, and article author will be also user123. Okay. So here, basically what we need to do is, let's see, we need to, in our profile, say that we want to display, right, in our select, find select, here's our select, right? We want to display where article owner username is equal to username, right? And that's an argument, that's parameter, that's select parameter. But we did this a couple of weeks ago, right? It's the same thing, right? So it's in the query. It's a query string parameter. The name is username. The type is string. And we're grabbing it from the query string. What's the query string called? Profile owner. Profile owner. Yes? Oh, the profile owner is 234. Profile owner is 234. Okay, so we're not going to see anything, right? We refresh because the profile owner that we created was user123. So let's go home. Let's log out. Let's go log in. Log in as user123 and password. Log in. Let's go to profile. There it is, right? So there's the content for logged in user123, right? If there was content created for user 234, right, let's create title 2, content 2, user 234, user 234. Right? If I go to home, I can log out, and then I log in again, right? And I say user 234. I go to profile. I have the data for user 234, right? So depending on how I log in. All right. So what about creating content? Let's create content. Let's create content. Again, what we could do is put a link here. Where, let's see, in the profile, right? We can say, you know, I want to add new content, so I can say a.href in protected, because I would need to be logged in to be able to post something, right? So I'm going to say protected new post ASPX, right? So post new article. Right, and notice that I put it on the protected directory. That means that the only way I can get there is having logged in, and I'm also going to provide who the author is. Right, who is the author of this post? The author is who? Is a currently logged in user, right? Not the owner of the profile, right? It's the currently logged in user. It should be the author. So I'm going to say author username, right, is the currently logged in user. Where is that? That's in my user identity dot name, right? That's the author of the article. Okay, so if I reload this, there it is, post new article, and at the bottom you see user 234. Obviously, the current logged in user is also going to be the owner, right? So let's see. If we have a new post, we can have new posts inside of protected. So if we go to protected, where's protected? Protected. So in protected, I can create a new web form, a new add web form, a new post, SPX. And let's load the Bootstrap. So new post. And this is container. Oh, Oh, it's one up. That's why it wasn't working. There it is. And this is new post. Okay. And now, instead of using, so up to this point, we've been communicating through the URL, yes? And the user ID, identity name, we have been using it on the ASPX side, yes? Because we have been using ASPX controls, yes? But instead, to show you how you would do this in the back end, right, using code behind, right, I'm not going to use a control here. I'm not going to use a control. Instead, I'm going to use a regular text box for the title. So here's going to be the title. Run at server. But to be able to handle this, we're going to have to do it on the code behind, right? And in code behind, we're going to have to extract the user.identity.name, yes, and use a DAO to do this, right? What else do we have here? The content. So text box ID content. So this is content text box. Text box. Run at server. And then a button. Button ID. A new post button. And CSS, this will be a button primary, button block. And the text for this, the text will be create new post. And then I'm going to have an on-click, which will create an event in the code behind. Yep. I'm just going to, in the text box, I'm just going to make it multi-line so that we have a text area to type in our content. So this will be text mode equal multi-line, right? Let's change the CSS to be equal to form control. Yes? What else? What's button not liking here? Oh, run at. I always forget run at. Here we go. All right, so let's go to post new article. If we go there, it doesn't work. What happened? Oh, protected. Really? Let me see. Where is profile? Profile. Oh, it's in the same place, right? It's in the same directory, so there's no need for that, right? So let's refresh that. So post new article brings me to a new post, yes? Where I can post, and when I create the post, is going to go into the back end, right? To this code behind. This is what's going to be invoked. This new post click. Right? Wait, what? Go away. So we want to be able to do here is grab a hold of the currently logged in user. That's going to be the owner, right? It turns out that the owner and the author are the same person, right? But one, I need to put it in whose blog, in whose article list, in the list of the owner, right? He's the owner, but it was authored by someone else. In this particular case, it's the same person. I have the author name, the author. Which is the currently logged in user, which could be someone else, right? Someone else is logged in, but it's viewing someone else's list of articles, right? So anyway, so in the code behind, what we're going to do is we're going to grab the string, the title from the title text box. We get the text from the title text box. We're going to get the content from the content text box. That's it, right? And then we need to push it to the database, yes? But typically, we would use a DAO, right? A data access object to connect, and push and insert this into the database. I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to do it here, right? As opposed to using a DAO. Even though I do it here. Don't do it in your experiments or your project, right? I don't want to see SQL statements all over your code, right? Maybe in a small experiment just to see if it works, okay? But put a disclaimer in your experiment saying this is not how I normally do it. I would normally put it in a DAO, right? Or use Entity Framework, which we're going to look at next week, right? But I don't want to see SQL statements all over your ASPX pages, okay? Not even in your code behinds. Yes, it should be in a nice set of classes that are dedicated to interacting with the database. Right? It's bad programming practice to to have it even here, right? So let's do a SQL. We need to load a couple things here. So let's do using system.data.SQL client. There it is. And so we're going to create here a SQL connect. We're going to connect to a database. SQL connection. New SQL connection to the connection string. We need a connection string, right? So let's go get a connection string from the database. So this is the database, and the connection string should be somewhere down here. There's the connection string. Right, I'm going to paste it here. This is a very academic example, right? Again, you should put it behind a nice API, which we've done quite a bit of that in the last couple of weeks. Yes, right? Okay, so we got our connection. We're going to open the connection, and we're going to close it. Right? Make sure that we close it. All right. So once we open the connection, we're gonna create a command. From some SQL. So let's create the SQL. The SQL is going to be what? It's going to be insert into, what's the table name? Articles. What is it? Is it plural? Articles. It's plural. Into articles. The title and the content. Okay. Title and content. Values of title and content. Yes. We're going to create a SQL command from the SQL. So SQL command SQL with this connection, and then we need to parameterize it. We need to pass the. Yes, we also need the author, right? We need the author and the owner, right? So let's see. The author is it's in the query string, right? It's in the query string. So author username is in the request, I believe, and it's in the request as what? Author username. There it is, right? From the request. So let's grab it from the request. And then the owner username is a currently logged in user, right? So it's going to be user.identity.name. Okay, in this particular case, they're both in one, they're both the same, right? So yeah, so we need to add down here, right? So what are the fields called? I forget. What are the fields called? Article owner username and article author username. What an ugly field names. I could have just called it, owner username and author username. Okay, whatever. Let's add that. So we're gonna have the article owner username and article author username. And that's going to be, what was it first? Which one was it first? Owner first, right? So owner username and author username. Okay, and then we'll have parameters for each one of these, right? SQL parameter, title param equal new SQL parameter called title with the value title, right? And you have a couple more. So we have title. What else we have? We have title. We have content. We have author username, and we have owner username, right? We did this already a couple weeks ago, right? So let's this is content. This is author username, and this is owner username. Did I do it right? Yes. And then finally, command. I need to add all these, right? Params. Oops. Parameters dot add each one of these, right? Title param plus content param, author username parameter, and owner username parameter. And finally, we execute, right? Command dot execute, right? Execute non-query. So hopefully that will insert it in there, right? So let's try it out. Let's try it out. And so this is the title. So this is title 321, content 321. Let's post it, and it dies. The variable name title has already been declared. Variable name must be unique. Really? What? What did I do? Oh, look at that. I hate computers. Author username, owner username. Author username, and owner username. Okay, let's try this again. Let's go back. Let's refresh. And let's do title 321, content 321, create new post. All right, looks it didn't blow up. All right, let's go back and let's go into the database and see if it's there. You can say articles, view data. There is title 321 and content 321. Let's do one more just to make sure. 432, create new. Let's refresh. Okay, there it is. So it is creating content, right? It is creating content. We just have to remember to go back where? To the list of posts, right? So we're gonna go from here. We'll go to new posts. Once we create the post, we're gonna redirect back to where? To the list of articles, right? So we're gonna say response dot redirect back to profile.aspx, and then it's remember that profile is expecting profile owner, right? So let's do question mark profile owner, and the profile owner we have it here, right? We have owner username. There it is. Oh, in the new posts, actually we should have like a cancel, right? If we don't want to post anything, we should have a cancel here, right? An href that would go back to our profile, passing the argument of profile owner equal to profile owner. Wait a minute, article profile owner. Oh, who's the profile owner? Do I have that? Do I have the profile owner? I don't have the profile owner. I guess I could pass it along. Can I? From the profile, I could pass it along. Do I have the owner here? I guess I could, right? The author name and the, wait, let me see. Who is the owner? The author is definitely who's logged in. The author is who's logged in. And the owner, who's the owner? Who is the owner? How do we keep track of the owner? Let's see, but if I log in, I am the owner and the author, right? But if someone comes to see my page, I am still the owner, but they are the author, right? And they would arrive here with what? Okay, so if you remember the way we did this to be able to distinguish between them, we used the query parameters to distinguish how we were navigating here, right? So if I log in, but I want to see somebody else's profile, right? The links would say I want to see, that profile or this profile, and each profile would have profile owner here, right? Oh, okay. So no, right? A new post, definitely the author username is correct. But what about the profile? The profile, the way when we come here to a profile. Okay, yeah, we do have, it's correct, right? Profile owner is username. I guess we have to go back, right, and say, all right, yes, well, okay, we know who the owner is, right, because we have it in the query string. We have it in the query string, right? It's in the request. It's in the request. All right, so we can grab it out from the request. Request. And it's is it in the request? We never passed it along, did we? We only passed in the author. The author. And we should pass in the profile owner as a request. Okay, so in the profile, we should pass along not only who is the author, but also we should pass along who the owner is. Right, profile owner, and pass along the query. Right, they're in the request. Oops. Request. And then profile owner, if that works. Let's refresh. All right, those are it. Notice that now if I click on post, now I have the author name and the profile owner who happen to be the same. Yes? Right now I know both of them. But if it was someone else who had logged in, yes, and would have come here, the author would have been whoever's logged in, but the profile owner would be someone else. Right? They would be different. Right? This is what allows me to distinguish between who's posting it and but who it belongs to and which wall. Okay, that makes sense, right? Okay. So I have both, and so now new posts can go back to the profile if I click on cancel by providing the same request to go back. Right? I can do cancel. So this is now cancel. Allows me to this is now cancel, right? Allows me to just go back to the profile, right? Allows me to go back, and maybe I should paint this to be danger, right? I could say that this is class is button and button danger and button block, right? Post new article. If I do cancel, I go back. There we go, right? Post new articles. All right, so now how do I become friends with other people? I like to be able to also become friends. Right? So wait a minute. Let me make sure that I logged in as this user, right? And let me log out. Make sure that if I log out and I go back to user 123 and password. Well, let me go. Wait a minute. Where was I? Home. All right. So if I log out and I go and log in as user 123 and password. Log in. I go to my profile. Notice that I only have these articles, right? I don't have the same articles as the ones that were rendered for user 234, right? And I can post content for this, right? So this is, I'll go to title user 123, right? And this is content user 123. I create the post and I go back and notice that this is content only for that particular user, right? Okay. Right. So we have content that is being generated by the various people. Okay. All right. Oh my goodness. I need to cut it here.